thing. Okay, so here we are in a major week of energy in astrology. Some big stuff is happening. We have at the end of this week a full moon with a lunar eclipse, and it's the first one of 2020, and it is a power-packed full moon because right behind it comes this major event that has not happened for 500 years. The meeting of two planets in the sign of Capricorn has not happened in 500 years. So I wanted to tell you about that, tell you why the energy coming up this week is so banana crazy, awesome, and intense. You might be feeling this intensity. I think everybody is. I mean, the ramping up of energy of some big moment is coming, and this is one of the precursors, is this big stellium coming on January 12th. So I had to take notes. I took some notes for you so I could share this information with you before we go into the karma cards, okay? So on January 12th, there is a stellium in the sign of Capricorn. And in astrology, a stellium means 3 or more planets are meeting in a sign. And some of us have stelliums in our natal charts. If you go and look at your natal chart, you might find you have a stellium of 3 or more planets hanging out one side. It's very cool. It gives a lot of power and energy to that sign. It definitely influences a lot of your personality when you have that stellium. And this particular stellium that's going on is, like I said, it's in alignment that has not happened in 500 years. And the meeting is between the planet Saturn and the planet Pluto. That alignment in the sign of Capricorn has not happened for 500 years. These two planets meet up occasionally. It's like every 33 years, they'll rotate back into each other's alignments. But to meet up in Capricorn, again, 500 years. And they're not alone, by the way. They will be joined with the Sun and Mercury, both in the sign of Capricorn. And these are two of our personal planets. Saturn and Pluto being more social or group or collective planets, okay? The last time it happened was in 1518. And when this happened, Martin Luther broke from the Catholic Church. That was pretty big event at the time. For those who need a refresher, my daughter just studied Martin Luther, so it's still kind of fresh in my brain. But he was a monk in the Catholic Church. You know what? I've got her teacher right here. So let me just bounce this off you. He was a monk in the Catholic Church, right? And he was pretty devout. I mean, you have to be devout to be a monk, right? And then he realized, as he went further into the study and the teachings and the operation, really this has to do with the operation of the church, right? That the studies and teachings said one thing and the way the church was operating said another, right? So one of the things they were doing was basically
letters of forgiveness.
Selling letters. The church was selling letters of forgiveness to anybody who could afford them. So if you were wealthy enough, you could buy a letter of forgiveness from the church, and that would exonerate you save your soul from going to hell. Well, Martin Luther looked at this practice and he was like, this isn't really in alignment with what we're teaching, right? I mean, what were some of the points that he brought up? That why be devout, why practice a faith if you could simply buy your way into the good place, right? If you could buy your way into the good place, what's the point of practicing any faith? And it felt like it was, that he felt the church was talking out of its ass. and he felt like that wasn't in alignment with what they were here to do. They were here to help people, on a soul level, work on themselves, find spiritual alignment, find a higher connection, and do the work that was required of everyone, whether you had money or not, to raise your own frequency. And they weren't doing that, and so he basically wrote, what did he write out? The list of
99 theses.
A 99
points where it was like,
these are 99.
That's right.
99 ways that they were fucking it up. It's funny. Nailed to the church door.
99 issues is what they are.
But what's amazing about that is because of that, there was church reform. So it was a catalyst for major change. It was, and again, where we want to look at that event on the social level and look at how it's lining up with our world today, right? So we're not in the same situation where churches in this case have that much power or say over a community, but we're looking at our governments, we're looking at how things are run, we are looking at corporations, about how business is done. We have a lot of clarity on what's not working and what, the fact that we've been sold a comfortable lie, and all lies eventually are found out, right? You can't keep a lie up for that long. I was just having this conversation with my 9-year-old because, we all try it. Human beings, we try to find the easy way. We try to find the workaround. We try to, all people, good, nefarious, it doesn't matter. The temptation to work around, to not go through the hardest part, but try to go around the hardest part is always there. And yet, whenever we are not in alignment or not honest, that information always comes forward. It's always found out. And it always must be rebalanced or reformed. And so that's one of the levels of this big event that's going on, is that there is this awareness, awakening, and a rebalancing, if you will. When you're dealing with Pluto, for example, Pluto, god of the underworld, in the planets, Pluto represents power. It represents deep transformation. It represents power, but not in the same way that we think about power in terms of people who have power or the misuse of power. It has to do with a deeper power, a higher power, an internal power. So that one's getting activated. Saturn is a planet that has a lot of heavy energy that comes with it because it is a planet of, everything, what goes around comes around. It is the planet of karma. Do you know the story of Saturn? The story of Saturn in, I think it's Greek mythology. When we're looking at Kronos is the Greek version. So Kronos was a king who got a reading from an oracle that said, your son, your throne will be overtaken by one of your sons. And so what does Kronos do, or Saturn in this case? He ate all of his children to prevent that. So there was the premonition, or the premonition was that there would be an uprising and he would be dethroned. And so to prevent that, he ate all of his children, and there was an uprising inside of him, and Zeus broke forth and broke everybody out, and they decided to make him king. And so it was self-fulfilling prophecy right there, or karma. And so when we have Saturn activated, there is this sense of what goes around comes around, or the rebalance, or the karmic return of any actions taken. So that's what we're looking at here on that big social level, those two social planets. And that's why when these two planets come together, and especially when they came together in Capricorn, it means transformative change on a societal level, big change. But in this stellium is different than the one that was 500 years ago. And how it's different is we have the activation of the sun and Mercury in this stellium at the same time. Now these two are personal planets, which talks about personal revelation. And so what we're looking at here is the sun, which represents that connection to higher self, the inner light, the inner path, if you will, and Mercury, which is how we perceive, express, communicate, all of that. So there is going to be a type of internal revelation that's happening here, a return and an awareness, and seeing clearly about what needs to change in us, how we have to wake up, how we have to take responsibility. Saturn and Capricorn. Saturn's the ruler of Capricorn. Capricorn is the manifester. It's the manifester of the zodiac. If any sign can manifest easily, it's Capricorn. They're the cardinal earth sign. And the thing that I've been trying to talk about over the last year, I keep bringing it back up, but with great power or getting what you want comes responsibility. And that is also connected to Capricorn, and it's connected to Saturn. And so personal responsibility, personal awareness, like cleaning up your side of the street or seeing what needs to be reformed in you and taking responsibility in that. I keep reading things, I keep reading as we're going through all this energy right now. I have so many friends who are in Australia, and it's been a nightmare over there for them. And it's rippling out, right? It's not just in Australia. As we're watching this, we're understanding on a deeper level how deeply it affects us all. And this is part of that energetic catalyst of look at your life, look at what you're doing, are you doing enough? And that's a hard thing to look at for anybody. Am I doing enough? And it's something that requires real reflection and personal honesty. What else could I be doing? Is it enough to drop one habit, or do I really need to look at the things in my life that I allow and support, and can I stay behind that, or do I know that the change is coming and I have to shift with this change? Because when these two join up, it's about this major transition that's coming, and we feel it. We can feel it in our bones. There's a lot of quiet rumblings, and they're not so quiet anymore, are they? But they're rumblings that we see so much that doesn't work, and there's so much that I think one of the hardest parts right now is that the beauty of humanity is so evident, and also all of the crap that we have to do to get into alignment with this higher, better, more compassionate, supportive, productive place. And we're at that precipice right now where we're really going to have to look at, can I turn a blind eye to this anymore? Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't, just because, implied consent. So one of the ways that we get manipulated by other people who would like to use our resources, our finances, our attention, our emotions is through implied consent. And what that means is that you didn't say yes and you didn't say no. And by not saying no, there's an implication that it's okay. For example, if we found out that, I don't know, a certain restaurant is, openly hostile and negative and hateful of groups of people, and we continue to eat there, does it mean you are hateful of groups of people? No, but it means that you're allowing that to continue to happen. And that's what implied consent is. It doesn't mean you directly agree. It means that you're not doing anything to stop it. And that's the kind of confrontational situations we're going to find ourselves in more and more. And it's going to feel more and more personal. We're going to have to look at our personal choices and how we handle things, and really look at, past me walking in and buying a burger here. What does that mean? It means that I gave them $4 more to continue this business and to continue, and somehow this is okay, right? So that's just one small example of some of the ways that implied consent happens. But I want you, if you're interested in this, if this is resonating with you, if you're like, wait a minute, what is implied consent and how could it possibly be happening to me right now? That documentary answers that question, I think, beautifully. And it shows us what taking some personal like really trying to look past the surface of things. And it's going to be easier than ever. So let's let's say, hallelujah to that it's going to be easier than ever to see behind the facade of anything. And I think that's one of the blessings of this time, is that those who would try to deceive, distract, mask, facade are going to be like too transparent. It's going to be something's rotten in the state of Denmark, and it's you to the business or to the person who their intentions are not in alignment with what they say. So again, there's going to be, thanks to this energy, our ability to see through BS is going to be even stronger. And how it happens is we're going to feel alignments. And so if a person says something and they don't match that, you're going to know it right away. And it's going to really, really just cause you to discern more than ever before. And discernment is something that I'm really trying to understand on a personal level, because we are in a time, and we're moving into periods of time where discernment is going to be the only way to know for sure. You're going to need to trust your internal compass about true or false, right or wrong, good or bad. That's going to be on you, because there's going to be a barrage of information coming forward asking us to consider their point of view, right? Look at it this way, look at it that way. And what I'm saying is that, yes, look at all of that, but then you need to make the decision from an internal place, and that comes from the art of discernment. Now, coming up on the 10th, right before this stellium, is a full moon in the sign of Cancer, the moon's home sign, the sign it rules, and a lunar eclipse in Cancer. And this matches the North Node, and so it has a lot to do about the future. It has a lot to do about nurturing the future, healing, your internal self, intuition. It's a massively intuitive moment that's going to help you. It's like the booster step into this bigger energy. And so if you feel interested, there is a link to join me for the Spirit Circle coming up on Friday the 10th, where we will be going deeper into this energy and talking about it there. If you want to join me, I'll make sure that I post a link here somewhere. Okay, so let's get into karma cards for this week. When I asked what this reading time period is for, they said from today until the full moon. So what we have are 3 decks. We have the planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already pulled the cards. I asked my team, what is it we need to know right now? And I get 2 sets of answers. I get action answers in red and outcome answers in blue. And the way that you play is you simply decide what type of reading you want. While you're doing that, let me tell you the flavor of this reading. So we have the Sun, which is a great card to get, in the sign of Scorpio, which is connected to Pluto. So all the issues of power, what we share with others, transformation, mystery, in the 2nd house. And the 2nd house has to do with worth, value, possessions, money, anything that you attach value to. So value of self, value of others, value of money and possession, relationships, all of it, what you value. And for those who are choosing red or action, here are your action answers. Your spiritual action: demonstrate the extraordinary power of prayer patiently. I feel like this one has been really activated lately. I've definitely felt called more to pray, more than ever before in my life. And I always had there's a little bit of aversion to the word prayer for me, only because of all the religious associations. But really, when you step back at that, when you reclaim that word, it's such a beautiful state to be in. And it is the asking of the universe, where meditation, contemplation is the receiving. So the extraordinary power of prayer, a great example of this is there have been people gathering together to pray for rain for Australia. And before, right when the prayer groups started, and they were all over the world, the prayer groups, it was a really tough moment because the messages coming from Australia were just like, I can't believe it, and more pain, showing the suffering, and it was intense amounts of pain. And so people started to gather to pray. And somebody somewhere, some angel of a person set up times for people so that they could all pray at the same time. And people have just been coming in and praying for rain. And just a few days ago, it started to rain in Australia. And just thinking about that, the power of the collective consciousness. We're very powerful as a collective. And it's known, but it's not known to the individual. It's known by people who have been using it, taking advantage of it, have known for a long time. On an individual level, we wake up to that awareness. And when we can see it manifest, it wakes us up faster. And I feel like one of the opportunities is seeing how fast the collective has responded to praying for rain and then the rain coming. And so that's just a beautiful example of the power of prayer and the patience that's required. You know, if you're a parent, you'll understand this one. Your child asks you for something. They ask you for something that they want for Christmas or their birthday or a holiday that's coming up, right? And as a parent, you're taking note. You're trying to figure out already, how can I make that happen? And what I would love for you to do is to think of the universe like a loving parent who is doting over you. So you've asked, and the universe is already going, okay, how do we make this happen? How I'm going to make this is going to happen. It's not always instant. Just like, if a child asks for a present at the beginning of the year and their birthday is at the end, they're not going to get the present until later. But the parent is thinking about it the whole time and working on it, working towards it. If you could consider that every time you pray, the universe is instantly responding with, yes, I'm bringing it. I am working on the best way to get it to you. Wouldn't that inspire patience in you if you knew that the answer was already yes? And it's not a matter of yes or no. It's simply a matter of when. The mental action at this time is realize the highest and lowest aspects of what you want. Realize the highest and lowest aspects of what you want. This one's interesting because, there's programming, old programming that a lot of us, I think all of us have been through, about wanting anything for yourself is bad. And you shouldn't want for yourself. And a lot of us are programmed to not receive because receiving is bad. That's selfish, right? Anything for you is selfish. So part of this is ask for whatever you want, but sit with it. Honestly sit with it. Look at why you're asking and see if you can connect those levels. Many times an intention can raise its frequency if you recognize how it benefits others as well as you. And a great example of this is in meditation, for example. If we sit down to meditate and we're only thinking about our well-being and calming ourselves or being more centered or feeling more balanced or relieving stress, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. However, when we also consider the effect you meditating has on the world around you, on those who are directly connected to you, on those around you in a global sense, it raises the frequency of the same action because you are experiencing the ripple effect internally. You're watching yourself expand. You're seeing how you taking the time to get centered and focused in your own life has a positive benefit on those you love and the world around you. And it's the same action raised to a new level. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if you understand that point. Because it is, I feel like the highest and lowest aspects, when I hear that, the brain automatically wants to say good and bad. Think of it in terms of actual levels, a low level and a high level. Take the good and bad out of it completely and make it about a low frequency or a high frequency. Same action, same activity, different intentions, higher intentions, right? So again, that's realize the highest and lowest aspects of what you want. Okay. Physical action at this time. Act like a leader. Control the situation and get what you need. That one's a tricky one to hear. I'll say it again. Physical action. Act like a leader. Control the situation and get what you need. So that on a basic level sounds like dominate others. Like I hear dominate others, make sure that it goes your way and take things at all costs. That is definitely a level to hear that at. However, let's break this down step by step. Act like a leader. In our inverted matrix training, so in the old paradigm training of the pyramid, right? The pyramid of power, one person at the top, a bunch of people being stepped on underneath. Acting like a leader meant like, I'm at the top. I'm at the top of the heap. Nobody can touch me, right? That is old paradigm leadership. True leadership, or what I call the resurrected queen or king, is recognizing that with great power comes great responsibility. So the more people rely on you, the more you owe to others to take care of them. The leader is meant to take care of the group. It's actually a pretty heavy burden when you think about it. I mean, it's, and I love to use the alpha wolf pack as an example because it's the most accurate portrayal of leadership I think there is, which is understanding that just because you're the strongest or you have been voted to be the leader, that doesn't mean that everybody is subservient to you. It rather means that you are of service to them, right? So no one gets left behind. No one is left out. It's your job as the leader to hold that position. So there's that first part. Control the situation. So we've also talked about control recently and how in the old paradigm or in the frenetic paradigm of control, it's trying to control everything around you. I read something that I want to go deeper in on another occasion about anxiety about the future. And I've often talked about how anxiety is when you project too far into the future, but it's not just that, because we can look at the future without feeling anxiety. When we feel anxiety about the future, it's because we can't control it. And we are freaking out because we can't control that. You can't control what happened in the past. It's over, and you can't control the future yet because the variables are unknown. Which means the only thing you have control over is in the present moment. And this is where we start to try to control our environment, try to control other people, try to control an event, a situation, a conversation. I mean, look at all the ways control can come in. And most of the times, if you're stressed out about something, you could probably follow the thread back to a feeling of not being in control or not having control over something. And so when we're acting like a leader and controlling the situation, what it really means here is have control over the one thing that would actually improve your experience, which is you. That's it. That's all you get, really. I mean, that's the most aligned form of control. When you recognize that the only thing you can control is yourself, then you start to look at your perception. You start to look at how you react, how you respond, how you're thinking about a situation. And from that, it says, get what you need. So from that, taking care of others, right? Realizing that you're here to be of service to someone else, that you are the one thing you can control is in this present moment, and it's right here, right now. And that's how you get what you need. And what you need is, I think most of us would agree, that having peace of mind. If you have peace of mind, whatever else is coming at you, you can handle. It's when you feel like you have no control of this, that it's hard. And so that's the way to do it. And the spiritual outcome at this time is the creation of purification to resurrect your beliefs. The The creation of purification to resurrect your beliefs. This one is so interesting because, again, with the energy that's coming up right now, there is something new is coming. So there we have creation. Purification, I think, really means just stripping back anything that's not really a part of your original thought system, your original belief system. It's stripping away anything that's kind of been programmed in, or feels implanted, or just not part of you. Or whatever was, and that can be done just through social agreement, right? Like having to hear it enough can program it in. That's it. So there's a purification of your original belief system, and that's happening now. The mental outcome at this time is the gaining of respect from or for the secrets of what you value. I'll say that again. The gaining of respect from or for the secrets of what you value. Wow. This is one of those esoteric answers that when I read it, I'm just like, okay. So this gaining of respect can be an internal sense of sort of like when you take that moment to reassess yourself, reassess your values. If you go back to the beginning of what we were talking about with this new vision, the clarity, the seeing how things operate. Again, I want to remind myself and you that I will put a link in for that Thrive documentary. And there's more to that title, but I have to find it. I watched it in 2015, 2016, and it really changed my mind. It got me to open my eyes and look at things in a way that I hadn't quite seen it before. And that feels like the gaining of respect for or from the secrets of what you value, because suddenly when you step back and look at how things operate, and then you ask yourself, what do you value? What do I value? You might see a big mismatch in what's available, or what you think is available, and what you value. And when you see those there, suddenly some things that felt comfortable or just acceptable, you strip away because it no longer serves you, and it's really out of alignment, and it becomes uncomfortable to have them there. And I think that is the aha moment that they're talking about here. The physical outcome at this time is things brought to life or light, resulting from the power of your resources. So when it comes to your resources in this reading, the second house is a tricky one. It talks a lot. We get caught up in some of the external expressions of value, like money, assets, worth, resources, meaning like what I can do with maybe what's in my bank account or investments I've had, but it's also internal resources, the internal resources you're carrying around, which one of the major internal resources that we have is the will, right? Willpower. This is something that literally shapes reality for people who know how to use it. When you can tap into the power of your will, things will be brought to light or life. So they will be seen, or they will thrive based on you recognizing what a magnificent source of power you have within you right now. It was gifted to you at birth, and it'll be with you this whole time. And it is a currency that we can choose to spend or not spend. And there is amazing information kind of waiting for us when we tap into that and see what we can do just by deciding at will what's right for us and what is not. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, subscribe to my channel, Life Starlight, and hit that notification bell so that every time I release a new video, you're the first to know. Until next time, stay magical.